Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson, Zero and X-Force, and this is my comic pick of the week and honorable mentions for the week of February 1st, 2012. And today is the 7th. It is a Tuesday. And I just want to mention that I didn't put Wolverine the X-Men number 4 in the mix for honorable mentions or pick of the week, mainly because it came out a little while ago, so it really didn't come out last week. That's just when I picked it up. It was actually my favorite comic that I read, but I'm not going to go ahead and put it in this grouping because I didn't think it was fair. But first up here from honorable mentions is Uncanny X-Force. Now, you look at this fantastic cover and it gets you excited, but those of you who have read number 20 know what to expect when you open up this comic. I would like to mention this before I get into this comic. I've been saying a lot of negative things, like I'm not going to be picking up Age of Apocalypse or anything. And then I saw this advertisement, and I have to say I really was liking this. I didn't like the comic they put out that was pretty much the prequel to what's going to happen in Age of Apocalypse. I wasn't really liking that at all. It was just okay. But when I look at this, and I really like that artwork, I start to think, maybe I should give it a shot. Maybe I should try the first issue or so to see if I like it. So I really like that advertisement, and I'm starting to maybe think I will give it a shot. But getting back to Uncanny X-Force, first off here, this art style. Really, you like it or you don't. I like it. Now, it works when you have big shots like that. You have, like, big stuff that's going on, big splash pages, if I can get to one here. That's when it works its best. Where it doesn't work is some of the smaller panels like this, and there's one where they kind of blur this one. They blur Captain Britain here. It comes across not as good. So I totally get what a lot of people are saying. But then it works great when you got stuff like this. That's when it works its best. So it's really hit and miss with most people, and I totally get it. I'm totally fine with it as long as they don't, dwell with this particular style for very long. I'm enjoying for it being so different. But stuff like this, for me, really works. Now, here is something that was also mentioned. You have this orb that's been, different orbs to do different things, and one is being used against Wolverine. And what it's doing is twisting his adamantium, making it all twisted and jacking him up. And that's a pretty powerful image there. You really don't see him twisted up like that before. I mean, you've seen him messed up before, but not so much as adamantium, so I get that. And then, this has been mentioned, like I said before, like Manginoni mentioned it. Then, in the next panel, besides this one, he ends up being fine. And they don't exactly explain it. He's kind of, rescued here by Nightcrawler. And then you got the head being picked up of Deadpool here, of what happened in the last issue. So, but they don't exactly explain Wolverine's all of a sudden being fine. His adamantium is straight again. Like, he's fine here. So, like Manginoni mentioned, probably because it's magic, it was just a temporary thing. But I think when you do stuff like that, you really should explain it. I know that you're assuming that most of your readers are seasoned comic readers and they can read between the lines. But, still, I do think it deserved a little better explaining. But those are really minor gripes for a great comic. Again, the artwork, I'm enjoying it, but I won't enjoy it if they keep it here for more than one story arc. But for now, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, a great comic, very interesting and fun artwork. Curious to see how they're going to wrap this up. looking forward to Uncanny X-Force number 22. And next up here for my honorable mentions is an art style that I really am enjoying, and that is Superman Action Comics, Poisoned by Kryptonite. Now, first of all, when I open up this book, it just screams Grant Morrison to me. I understand he's the writer, not the artist, but this artist, this penciler, Andy Kubert, his style just really screams Grant Morrison to me. It just looks and feels like a Grant Morrison book, and that's just a really good thing. Some of the panels here are just really strong, some of the strongest in the series so far. Again, here's something else to me that screams Grant Morrison. Stuff like this. I mean, doesn't that just scream Grant Morrison to you? Beautiful, crazy Grant Morrison. So, really fun, a lot of fun here with what's going on in the storyline. I won't try to over-explain it, but I just want to show some of this great artwork. For those of you who aren't reading Action Comics Superman by Grant Morrison, you're really missing out, and I really think that you should be picking this up. And if you don't pick it up right now, definitely pick it up on trade. It's really great. You have some great scenes here of Superman when he was young, growing up. These are some of my favorite parts of the story. I really love origin stories, and I love that we're being told the origin stories of Superman, how he grew up, and his trials and tribulations type thing. Those are some of my favorite parts of Superman storylines, and I'm really enjoying the Grant Morrison version of that. Again, I'm just enjoying the heck out of this comic right now, and I just love stuff like this. It's just so great. Now here's the other thing that I really thought was really nice, and that is after a story's done, you get this really nice small story going on called A Last Day, and it's just a really nicely paced story. And after reading the story of the main storyline, this is just really nice. It's just almost like an after flavor, and the artwork is just great. The light colors, almost pastel-like. The panels, just really strong. This was a very enjoyable comic for me, and this is definitely one of my favorites so far. Fantastic book, and you guys really should be reading this. Number 6 just shows me how great this team can be, and what wonderful things they have to tell us story-wise for Superman in the near future. A great book. And those are my honorable mentions. This one, I think, really just want to show it. It wouldn't necessarily be part of my honorable mentions at this point, but I did discuss it quite a bit on my posting, and I wanted to know your comments on it, so I thought it'd be fair for me to show the comic and say a few things while showing you the artwork. First of all, I do think that Tony Daniels is doing a good job. I just really would like to be wowed, and at this point, it's just not as strong as I would like it to be. First off, I also want to say that it's really nice art. This is some of the better artwork so far, and that's good. That's a really good sign. I think the panels are great. I think the coloring really fits the mood. It definitely, when the story is at a crucial point, I think the art really enhances the story rather than distracts. Also, I think the panels are placed really nicely. I like that they're being different about it. I like that they're trying to tell an enjoyable story. They know you're reading it. They know you're looking at the pages and they want to engross you. So stuff like this is really fun for me, and I very much like it. I even like the the story of these characters that I don't know if they've been in the DCU before. I think they're new characters, but I'm not going to say for sure because I don't know. But I think they're very interesting. The sisters, everything that's going on with them. I'm really curious about them. I think they're developed well. I like their character design. It's a very appealing storyline, and I do enjoy that. Over here with what Penguin's doing, the team he's putting together, it's not as interesting as I would like it to be. I don't find it threatening. I don't see it being a big problem for Batman at this point. It's definitely my least favorite part of the whole story. But I want to mention, I do like the character design. I love the character design of the men and women in the books. I think that the artist does a great job with making an appealing art style, yet making it gritty, but not so much that you're not really enjoying yourself. So, now that I'm really thinking about it, I do believe this is going to be getting an honorable mention here. I was on the fence about it, but the more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, you know what, this is an honorable mention. This is a good book. I want to see them, not go down anymore. I'd like it to start getting exciting, to really wowing me a bit. I don't necessarily need the cliffhangers of the first story arc, like I mentioned, but I do want a little bit more. But all in all, it's a good title. It's definitely an interesting one, and I'm not loving it right now, but it definitely is something I want to continue reading. Yes. So again, I'm really curious what you guys think. Do you think it's worthy of an honorable mention, or do you think maybe you need to see a few more and see what's going to be happening in this story arc and maybe the next? But I do enjoy this still, and even though I totally get people that aren't into this right now, I will give it an honorable mention. And with that, next up is my comic pick of the week. For so many reasons. Now, there is a bit of favoritism here. This is my favorite team. Obviously, Slott, one of everyone's favorite writers for Spider-Man. But Remus is just really my absolute favorite Spider-Man artist. By the way, I also want to mention that that I wasn't sure who was going to be doing the next story arc. So I was half right. My favorite writer, Dan Slott, he is definitely doing the next story arc, but my favorite artist is not. Though I do like this particular artist. I do think he does a good job with Spider-Man. I know he's probably a lot of people's favorite, but he just doesn't have that flavor that I really enjoy with Spider-Man. For me, that will always be Remus. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. But let's get to the comic of the week, and that is the conclusion to the two-part story arc of Spider-Man here. And we pick up right where the last one left off, obviously. Now, I'm not going to talk about the story too much. This is called like Killed Tomorrow, Part 2 of 2. I don't want to spoil a lot, but I do want to show a lot of artwork. So I don't want to say too much, because I do think this is a really good two-shot, and that you definitely should be picking this up. I think this would be a really nice, probably inexpensive trade to pick up as well when it comes out. But first off, this is just a story with characters that I really like. I need not say who this is, of course. She's one of my favorite female characters, especially when she's woven into Spider-Man story arcs. So I've really been enjoying the heck out of that. But, I mean, just this flavor, this style right here, I mean, I just love it. It just yells Spider-Man to me. The action, stuff like this, this is the only artist that does stuff quite like this with Spider-Man. It's very comic, it's very fantastic, and whenever I see stuff like this, I just think to myself, this is Spider-Man. This is my favorite Spider-Man to read, to look at. It's perfect. Again, it was just a two-shot, but you get a lot of great moments here. I mean, for just a 2-issue story arc, I'm just blown away with how entertained I was with the whole thing. Panels like this was great. Again, just normal stuff. Like, who hasn't drawn Spider-Man swinging a billion times, right? It's like almost a must in every single comic. But Ramos has this like flavor. It's so him. Even for like the watch that he's keeping on top of his uniform because obviously the storyline and everything, he needs it. But it just screams to me Spider-Man perfection. It just really does. Again, fantastic artwork. A really fun storyline that I wish I could start saying some key moments about, but if you hadn't read it, it would kind of spoil the fun of the story. But some of my favorite moments were these moments here with Peter Parker and Mary Jane. And anyone that's reading this, I'm sure you thought the same thing. They really should be back together. In fact, this is a bit of a spoiler, but you almost think something might happen, and it doesn't. And it just reminds me how much I want it to happen. And I know that they're teasing. I know they're going to probably keep on doing that for a while. But I think it's time to just go ahead and do it. This is definitely some of the best parts in the story, and I just really enjoyed it. But yes, this is definitely a really strong comic pick of the week. Obviously, if I'm mentioning this one, you should really be picking up both. You can't read this one and not the first. So, great comic book, and a really strong recommendation for my favorite comic pick of the week. And with that, these are my honorable mentions and comic pick of the week. And curious, guys, what you guys think? Did you really like these comics as much as I did? Probably the most controversial one in the pile here is probably this one. But I think these other three, clearly, they deserve recommendations. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.